So why don't we begin at 7:37 p.m. The Alternative Energy Committee meeting for the town of Cohasset is beginning in accordance with Massachusetts law. We are able to do this virtually, and it has been properly noticed. We have a fairly straightforward agenda today, starting with guest speakers. What I think I will do, Doran was not at the May 8th meeting, I don't think. And so we would only have 3 votes to approve it. What I'd like to do is defer the approval of the meeting minutes until next meeting, if that is okay with everybody.
Yep.
All right, excellent. And then next on the agenda is the guest speakers, and to tell us about what Rip and Replace is. So Julia, if you can bring Nick, and if Jim is in the waiting room, Jim on board so that we can meet them, hear from them, that would be great.
Hello.
Yes, they are here.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Can you
Good
hear me
evening.
okay?
We can.
All right, terrific. So yes, I'm Robert Quintel. I fancy myself as an EV charging expert, but so what we're presenting and more as a general discussion is what is the intention of, we call it rip and replace, it's sort of an industry term, but essentially what we have proposed to Cohasset is to replace the existing electric vehicle chargers in place, meaning to replace them without making any modifications to the existing locations, if you will. Currently, there are 7 charging stations, and I'll just kind of list off where I have them as being located. We have 1 charging station located at Town Hall. We have 2 located at the library. We have 2 located at the recreation main entrance parking lot, and 2 located at the high school. We have proposed to do a replacement of what I would refer to as a sort of a first generation or a Gen 1 technology, and replacing those 1 for 1 with a new technology. So there's technology benefits that are associated with this replacement. And then if the town opts to utilize the performance cloud service that is associated with these chargers as an option, then that eliminates the recurring annual fees that are associated with the cloud software that accompanies. It's a key component to these chargers, right? Because it's the software that manages the wayfinding, which identifies where the locations are in the vehicle wayfinding, as well as PlugShare and other third-party applications, so that when drivers are trying to identify where chargers are located, we call that wayfinding. So there's fees associated with that, and then there's fees associated with the collection and the management of the driver fee. So if you're charging drivers to utilize the chargers, obviously I would think you want to charge to at least break even on the electric cost, so that there's not a cost to the town. So there's the handling fees, the credit card processing fees, all of that is what we call the cloud fee. We offer what's called a performance option, which if you select, and most of our customers do select this, is that in lieu of the town being charged an annual fee, the cloud service provider takes a percentage of the driver fee. In the case of the vendor that we promote and propose is called Red E, the color red with the letter E. They keep 5 cents per kilowatt hour of the driver fee collected. So let me just give you an example of what does that mean. The going rate for level 2 charging varies between 35 and 50 cents a kilowatt hour. Let's just say that you choose to charge 40 cents a kilowatt hour. 5 cents of that 40 cents is kept by the cloud service provider, which is Red E. 35 cents of that 40 is distributed by Red E to the town of Cohasset. And in exchange for that performance or revenue share, if you will, you not receive an annual fee or a bill. I believe you're with ChargePoint now, if I go back in my notes. And if you're with ChargePoint, I'm assuming that you're either getting an invoice from them on an annual basis, or at the point in time where your contract will renew with ChargePoint, you will then be asked to pay an annual fee. So oftentimes, and this all depends on how your contract is with them, is oftentimes they'll include the first 3 years, for example, as part of the installation cost. It'll include 3 years of their cloud networking fee. And then at the end of that contract term, the town will begin to get either an annual invoice or a biannual invoice. So what we're offering is that you would not have a situation where you have to budget for an annual fee. I always kind of say it's sort of like if you get Microsoft Office on your town computer system, once a year you get an annual fee for your Office renewal. Same kind of idea here. So that's sort of the software side of it, or the cloud side of it. On the technology side, we're installing a newer technology. We call them smart chargers. They are still level 2 chargers. They operate the same from a functional standpoint, but they're able to deliver more power. So in theory, vehicles will get a faster charge. How does that happen? Well, a smart charger allows more power to be delivered to one vehicle if there's only one vehicle plugged in. These are dual port chargers. So when a second car pulls up, obviously now that power is split. Currently, with the ChargePoint and some of the older technology, it's literally cut 50-50. So half the power goes to car 1, half the power now goes to car 2. With these smart chargers now in the new technology, the charger actually delivers what the car demands. And the car demands is based on the state of charge of the vehicle, which means how full is the battery in the vehicle, and that determines how much power the batteries need to pull. So I'm trying to see if I'm explaining this properly. So if car A only needs a third of the power necessary because it's already at 60% of state of charge, for example, more power can go to car B. So there's an intelligence now to where it goes beyond just a sort of, we'll call it a dumb 50-50 power split. So the power share is going to be done based upon and it could be 2 different vehicles with 2 very different demands of battery size that would also determine how much power does that need to be shared real time. So there's a lot more intelligence. Again, it's like going from an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 17. There's just more benefits that come along with the newer technology. So that's sort of the flyover without going in the weeds technically, but I'm happy to do that if you'd like.
So I'd like to get a clarification from Julia, if she knows whether we are receiving an annual invoice from ChargePoint, or if it was included as part of the original arrangement.
I don't have that information.
Okay, so this is, I mean, that would be a piece of information we would need to assess. What is public is that we currently charge 22 cents a kilowatt hour for the energy. So 5 cents, that covers the software. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then the cost of the rip and replace, the reinstall, is that subsidized by the state? Is this a state program?
It is. It's a Mass Department of Environmental Protection program, and it's administered by a government agency called Mass EVIP, which stands for the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, but they do roll up under Mass DEP. They allow up to $50,000 per community or per town address to include both hardware cost and installation cost. So in the case of a one-for-one replacement, as I described, there would be no out-of-pocket costs to the town for each of these locations. So you would get all new equipment at no out-of-pocket cost, and then you could opt into this performance option that I mentioned. There is also the option to pay for the annual fee, and it would be $240 a year per port. And in that case, the town would not give up 5 cents per kilowatt hour. So it might behoove you to look at, or have Julia dig in a little bit and see where. What we're finding is that as these chargers age out, and we deal a lot with ChargePoint because they did a lot of municipalities 3 and 5 years ago, and they did sort of front end loaded all of those costs in at the time of installation. But now we're seeing cities, towns, and municipalities are getting their first invoices, and there's some significant dollars there, but obviously depending upon how many ports you have across the community, right? So that would definitely be worth looking into. Do you know if the 22 cents is, you said you're charging 22 cents now, is that covering the cost? Has there been a cost analysis done just to see, are you at break even electricity wise?
So my
And-
understanding is it does cover the cost.
Mhm.
Where we make margin, if you would, is we also have a idle fee,
Okay, yep,
$5 per hour idle fee.
sure.
And so after 5 hours, people start to get charged that in addition to
Mhm.
the electricity costs.
So you're allowing a 5-hour no cost idle. That's fairly generous. But I mean, that's fine. Do you know what your utilization is on these chargers? Are you getting good use?
We do know what the utilization is, and we have that data. We report it every month. So we'd have to go back and take a look.
Okay.
See what the
Because obviously knowing the utilization is tremendously helpful, because you can calculate if the 5 cents per kilowatt hour that you would be giving up, if you will, would that be a net loss for the town, or would that be, I guess where I'm going with that is that you'd be able to calculate, or I could calculate pretty quickly for you, whether it makes sense for you to keep the 5 cents per kilowatt hour and pay an annual fee versus giving up the 5 cents per kilowatt hour.
Right. No, we totally
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why I had asked the question.
Hmm.
And we would need to obviously take a look at that. And maybe the answer is just raise our energy price
Right.
to cover
I
the
mean,
new costs.
if you're getting if you're getting a lot of use from I'm assuming you don't have any town vehicles that are EV, right?
That's
do.
not true. We do.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and are they using, there's not dedicated, do you have a separate rate for town vehicles? For example, we can set multiple rate structures for you if you wanted to. So you could have a fob or a swipe card or a key code that a town employee, for example, would get a certain rate, kilowatt hour rate. But then if the general public were to pull up and use the charger, you may want to have them be charged more at market rate, for example, which is closer to double what you're charging now. And you can, if you're familiar with PlugShare or some of the other wayfinding applications, you can go in on PlugShare, for example, and see what are other local chargers being, what kind of rates are they charging, to be able to help you determine what rate you might want to be at. So those are all options that are available. I'm not sure if you have that option now with the ChargePoint software, but you would with the cloud provider that we're promoting or that we're proposing.
Mhm. My understanding is I think that the town vehicles have a fob or something that basically gives them the electricity at no charge because it's
Okay.
a town.
Gotcha.
You'd just be coming
Makes
out
sense.
get into another. Debbie.
So I have actually a couple of questions.
Sure.
One is, with the new technology, does it draw the same, a comparable amount of power as the older
Mhm.
ones, or is it more efficient? I mean, would there be an energy savings to us
So
with
there's this is really a one for one energy usage. There's no efficiency gains per se. There would be a notable difference in the power that's delivered to the vehicles now in what I started out by talking about the power share. Um, but a kilowatt hour is a kilowatt hour. So we're not changing the wiring. We're not changing the size of the circuit breaker, if you will, that's feeding the chargers. So if there's technically right now, there are 32 amp chargers from ChargePoint. So we would be delivering that same 32 amps. In other words, we're not changing anything with regard to the infrastructure. So the cost and the efficiency will not be impacted. What would be impacted is how those kilowatt hours are being utilized to be able to charge a vehicle faster. So again, if a small vehicle were to pull up and it was at a 50% state of charge, and then a vehicle pulled up next to it, right now it would just split that power. So it really isn't going to change the pricing or the efficiency. We're not changing that power. We are delivering, I will say this though, the chargers that we're installing can go as high as 80 amps, but they're only going to draw as much power as there is available. So right now, if you want to talk electrically for a minute, these chargers are being fed by a 40 amp circuit breaker. If in the future, as technology evolves, you wanted to deliver more power, these chargers that we're installing now can go up to 80 amps, whereas you're limited with the current ChargePoint to 32 amps. In order to do that, though, the wiring size would have to be increased. So there would be electrical work. Let's just say that 3 years from now, you wanted to be able to have better, more powerful charging. These chargers have the built-in ability to be able to deliver up to 80 amps, but it would require electrical upgrades. So it would
So,
have to get larger wiring going through the existing conduit and a larger circuit breaker to feed them.
so in my mind, I
Mhm.
wouldn't. Is this correct thinking to think it's either all or nothing? I mean, we would, if we were going to replace it, to have two separate systems makes
Mhm.
absolutely no sense. So
Right.
it's all or nothing. So have you done any estimates about how if we did all 18 ports, how much that would be for the town
To
to
upgrade.
rip them out?
Oh yeah, we have done all of that. That was in an original proposal dated March 2nd, 2025. And I actually, if I'm not matching up with your math, I have 2, 4, 6 dual ports. So that would be 12 ports plus a dual port at Town Hall. So I have 14 total charging ports. Do you have different math than I do?
Well, I could be incorrect. I thought we had 18, but
There may be more that I'm not aware of that are not eligible for upgrade through the Mass EVIP program. Mass EVIP requires that the chargers be older, 3 years or older, and we're not funded through the EVIP program originally. So maybe Julia has more information on what other chargers may be
Robert,
installed. Yeah,
could you give us your list again and we
sure.
can tell you?
Yeah, I have one dual port at Town Hall,
yeah.
Yes.
2 dual ports at the library,
Yes.
2 dual ports at what I have listed as recreation main entrance parking lot,
Yes.
and 2 dual ports located at the high school.
So I think you are potentially missing either, I don't know what the rec center is, if that's the town hall parking or if that's the other side of the library parking. Is that on
But-
Sawyer Street? Do you have the addresses?
Yeah, let me get the addresses for you. Hold on, please. 1 second.
We have 4 locations, each have double ports, and the single double port behind the town hall that makes 18, 4x4 plus 2. The rec center is confusing because there's the new rec center headquarters, which is behind the library on Sawyer Street. And
Mhm.
there's the town parking, which is by the rec center
Mm,
at the town parking.
yeah, I could see where there could be some confusion. I do show Sawyer Street, and it says it could be combined with the library.
Yeah, those are in different locations. One
Okay.
is next to the library, 2 double ports up top by the library, 2. So you're missing the town hall parking. I think they were
Town,
installed at the same time. Town hall parking, it's going to be
that 41 Highland Ave?
no, that's
No.
the town hall.
Oh, okay. You're right. I don't have town hall parking. Is that a relatively new installation?
Wait, sorry, town hall parking you do have. That's a single double port
Yes.
behind town hall. The town parking is not
Yeah.
new. That is let me ask you, would that put us over the $50,000 limit?
No, because no, it's up to $50,000 per address.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Good. Oh, that's
So
good.
we could potentially do all of these without exceeding that at each location. So
Right. And you said
So-
the software is eRed, but the
Red E, yeah, red
E.
like the color red E. Yes, yeah.
and the but that's not the brand of the charging stations, right?
The chargers are made by a company called Autel, AUTEL,
Okay.
and they're widely deployed in the program both for Eversource, National Grid, and Mass EVIP. So it's a very well-known brand.
Mhm, mhm.
And
That has its own charge point app or
no, so we're this is an interesting point you just brought up. So ChargePoint only utilizes ChargePoint software. So they're vertically integrated. The chargers that we're utilizing by Autel can utilize any number of hundreds of different software providers. Okay. So it's what we call open protocol. It's called open protocol because you can change the software provider over the air, if you will, at any
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
Whereas with ChargePoint, you don't have the ability to do that. You're locked in, you're vendor locked with ChargePoint.
Mhm.
And that's another attractive reason why we're finding that our solution is generally much more accepted because there's a lot more flexibility down the road. For example, if ChargePoint were to go out of business, God forbid, right? You've got a stranded asset. If ChargePoint decides that because their stock price is at 62 cents and they're publicly traded and the shareholders say you need to raise your rates to generate more profit, so double your software fee, you don't have any out, you're stuck. If Red E were to do the same thing, you could go to Amp Up, or you could go to Electrify America, or you could go to any number of different providers because it's open protocol. So I should have pointed that out when I was talking about the cloud.
That's really important.
And
Something
we like
and up with our level 3.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes.
it was proprietary software. What a pain, you know.
Yeah.
So that's a big.
What so on that each of the software companies have a credit card protocol, or do they take a credit card directly, or is it an app?
So it's all of the above. So you can pay via an app, which is the preferred way to do it. Autel has these chargers that we're installing have an 8-inch touch screen that generates a random QR code, which then allows the driver to either pay through Google, Apple Pay, or download the app. There's a huge benefit there because it's from a secure standpoint. You don't have a QR sticker that's the same QR code all the time that now a lot of notorious folks are figuring out a way to come and put their own QR code sticker over that QR code. And that obviously is, leaves a lot to be desired for pirating. And so there's all of those options for payment method. So yes, you have the ability to pay in any number of different ways, right? So
Because
Great.
ChargePoint is such a pain. You really only can use their app. I mean, there's no
Mhm.
way to deal with credit cards or anything
So
else.
and in fairness, I will just tell you because I want to be transparent and open. The new ChargePoint equipment does have the ability to do credit card and all the different methods. But again, going back to the fact that you've got sort of like a Gen 1 technology from ChargePoint. So that's why the rip and replace, if you will, is so attractive, because it's bringing you into, an upgraded technology. So again, I use the iPhone analogy, right? An iPhone 11 going to, I don't even know what number we're at now, 17 or whatever. But and you bring along all of those technology enhancements just by virtue of the fact that it's a newer technology. But yeah, if you decided that you wanted to upgrade everything to and stay with ChargePoint, you would, and we could actually do ChargePoint equipment for you if you wanted, and we could meet the same financial no out of pocket to the town, and you would get all new ChargePoint equipment. But again, you're still vendor locked from a software standpoint. So we think
Got
that there's a much more beneficial to go to a third, to an open protocol.
Yep. Martha.
Uh, Okay. I was just wondering, Robert, is there any reason not to do this? Is there any downside that other localities haven't opted in for this?
We haven't had any. We're working with 50 different cities, towns, and communities right now. We work with MMA. ECRE is a MMA vendor partner. I really can't think of anything to tell you where there's any gotchas here, to be honest. I'm not a salesman, so I'm more the operations and technical person. So, but I can't think of anything that I would warn you against here to any reason not to do this. There is a lot of consolidation happening in the industry, especially on the software side. And there have been a few companies that have not made it financially and have gone out of business. And NLX is probably one of the more popular ones. I don't know if anybody's been to Gillette Stadium, but NLX is one of the sponsors at Gillette, and they had probably 30 or 40 chargers, level 2 chargers at Gillette Stadium, and about a year ago they went out of business. But the chargers that they had installed were open protocol, so they were able to pivot and utilize a different software provider, right? So that does happen in the industry, in fairness. But I would say that none of us want to see this happen, but ChargePoint is really struggling, and they're a publicly traded company. At one point, they were $32 a share. They're now down to 69 cents a share. We don't want to see them fail. We don't. It's not a good look on the industry. We hope that they make it, but they're struggling. Part of the reason they're struggling is because they were early in from a technology standpoint. They pioneered the industry. And consequently, when the industry exploded and grew and a whole bunch of new vendors and service providers got into the business, it started to eat away at their market share. But they did a lot of the early first generation installations in the state of Massachusetts were ChargePoint. So we are taking out a lot of that technology and upgrading it. So.
Mm-hmm. Great. So, Julia, do you know what the timing is? Sorry. Are there other questions, technical questions?
I just had one other, about
Sure.
About at some point, how hard it would be. I mean, is there any way to upgrade to level 3s at some point and keep, the equipment? I mean, is that upgradable to level 3?
It's a really good question, but level 3 is a completely different electrical infrastructure. It runs at 480 volts, and it requires a tremendous amount of what we call make ready from the utility. So it's a much different. There's no way to interchange a level 2 to a level 3. That doesn't mean that you can't install level 3 at any of the locations that we're talking about, but it would be a completely separate and distinct construction project.
Okay.
We do install level 3 chargers. We have several communities that we've installed level 3 chargers for. I would highly recommend that after we kind of get through maybe this experience together, or we go through the next step with this, we can revisit talking to you. There are programs available from National Grid that are specifically for addressing fleet applications for level 3. So they have separate budgets and funding for that. Currently, Mass EVIP does not, but they are, we do participate in their planning meetings and strategy meetings. They are talking about next fiscal year having a fleet program for cities, towns, and communities that have electric vehicles as part of their fleet. So that is something that we will be involved in and are involved in. So, but yeah, unfortunately, it's very different. The level 2 chargers, essentially all they really need is a dryer outlet to plug into. It's a 240 volt. It's commercially available in essentially all of the buildings that, you know, that we're talking about now. There was really no infrastructure upgrades required when you had the initial installation done, nor will there be on this upgrade. But yeah, for level 3, it's a whole different can of worms. I would say, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
So I'm wondering whether doing the rip and replace for everything, I mean, maybe at some place like Town Hall, we might want to reserve that and do a level 3. I mean, we're working toward like climate leader community where we're supposed to do, you know, electric first. And I mean, it seems like there's a few places that we may want to reserve space, or, you know.
Well, let me kind of piggyback on that thought. So there would really, I think it would be counterproductive to abandon what you already have and are offering, right? So because there's no way to take the current level 2s and convert them to level 3, why abandon what you already have and what you're offering? In addition to that, looking at level 3, or what we call DC fast charging, would be an increase in what you're offering, right? And as well as servicing your electric vehicles for the town. So they're two very distinct systems. So adding level 3 charging would just be, you know, in addition to what you already have. You wouldn't be gaining anything. You can't even use the power right now that's feeding the level 2 chargers would not even be able to be utilized for the level 3 chargers. So whatever we look at on your behalf, or whatever the town decides to pursue for level 3 charging, would be a completely new installation. Most of the time, what we see, like if you look at a typical fleet installation, I'll give you an example. National Grid is converting all of their service vehicles to EVs, right? So what they've done at all of their depots is they're doing a combination of level 2 charging and DC fast charging. And it really comes down to how you want to utilize charging. DC fast charging is fantastic to get a 30 to 40 minute zero to full state of charge. But the reality is that charging really is determined based on dwell time. So the amount of time that a vehicle is parked and not in use is what really drives the type of charging that should be designed. So if you're not turning vehicles every hour, then why would you want to have a preponderance of DC fast charging? I think it's great to have as an addendum to level 2 charging. So having, for example, a proliferation of level 2. The industry average is what the DOT and all of the the experts, if you will, in the industry say that 80% of charging is and will be level 2. So DC fast charging is great for road tripping, those Tesla supercharging stations that you see all along the interstate highways, right? So every 50 miles, the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure that currently right now is under review and on hold. But there are still many, many installations that are already funded and in construction are to provide DC fast charging at 50-mile intervals along interstate highways. How does that drill down to what you want to offer the community? You know, realistically, what we see is having a couple of DC fast chargers at your, you know, say at your DPW site or at some site where it makes sense. If the police or emergency vehicles needed to have access to, you know, to fast charging, there would be a reason to have DC fast charging. But as far as having it, unless you wanted to do it strictly as a revenue stream, where you wanted to have people, you know, pull in off the highway and come in and charge so that the town could make, you know, revenue, positive revenue on that. Other than that, really level 2 charging is going to suffice for the majority of your applications. The other thing that comes along is, you know, there's a tremendous amount of infrastructure cost that goes along with installation of DC fast charging, whereas with level 2 charging, it's little or no cost to you to be able to scale that and expand it. So just something to think about, and I'm sure you'll do more thinking on that as your EV fleet grows, as to how do we really use these vehicles, how long, if they're parked overnight, then there's absolutely no use at all for level 2 for DC fast charging, right? You want to be able to plug those vehicles in, have them to be able to charge in 4 to 6 hours, and you've got a full tank the next day ready to go. If I could speak to just the timing on this, I heard somebody mention, or maybe ask Julia timing. I wanted to just throw in my 2 cents on the availability of funds is always the timing issue that we're warning or kind of cautioning our customers. These programs have funding available until they don't. And it is on a first come, first serve basis. You may be aware that the Eversource and National Grid programs have essentially, as of even Q4 of last year, were fully subscribed. So I always kind of say this Mass EVIP program is the only game in town available that has available funding. So I would just recommend that if you want to pursue this, I would recommend doing it sooner rather than later, only because again, the funding has a limited amount of funding. I don't know. I can't tell you how long it's going to last. Or when it will be depleted or fully subscribed. But what we're proposing to do is to fill out on your behalf the applications for the funding for these projects. And then that money is essentially earmarked for the town of Cohasset, and they give you 24 months to execute the project. If you don't, the money will just go back into the kitty for others to use. But there will be a point in time at some point where they turn off the faucet and they say, okay, we've got more applications than we have available funding. If all of the projects that are applied for were to be executed, then, you know, they would say, white flag, we're fully subscribed. We're not currently accepting any new applications. So that would just be, I would hate to see us, you know, 2 or 3 weeks from now, we kind of say, oh, gee, I wish we had taken advantage of this, because the program, I'm entering applications as quickly as I can just to get funds earmarked for the projects that, you know, folks like you that we're talking to. So just something for you to think about.
And how long does it take once the town signs the contract with you?
Mass EVIP is currently running at about 8 weeks approval. At the conclusion of that 8 weeks, once we get the approval, the approval letter goes to you first. And that allows us to then order equipment and schedule the project. The installation on these, especially where we're doing the replacement, we haven't even looked at any new locations for you. We've only talked about existing, is literally each location would be a one-day project. So it's a fairly quick project. So it'd probably take longer for the equipment ordering process and having it delivered to the site than it would to actually get it, replaced. So it's a fairly painless process. We do have to adhere to the current ADA standards. So there are probably going to be some locations where we would be restriping handicap parking because we've got to go to van width now. So the new ADA requires 11 feet width on the handicap spot. We have to provide one handicap accessible for each of these locations. And then we have to, one of the other requirements is a 5-foot unloading zone that we have. That's where you see the alternate stripe so that the van can pull up and have the access to be able to unload. So we're taking, probably a 9-foot handicap spot now from the old ADA to now we're going to take up 16 feet to meet that same one handicap spot requirement. Other than that, there's really no other physical changes to what we're going to be doing as far as, we're not digging any, asphalt or anything like that. There's no asphalt repair. There's really not a lot to, and we're using the existing 2-by-2 diameter pads that the current chargers are on. So there's it's a fairly straightforward project from a labor standpoint.
So can I just ask on the handicap for the places where we have 2 chargers with a total of 4 ports to each, does that mean there would be 1 parking space reserved for handicap, and so only 3 of those ports would be available for non-handicap placard cars?
Technically, and I'm happy to send you the Mass EVIP document on this topic. Technically, it's not a handicap only spot. It's a handicap EV accessible spot. So so there is a difference there, right? So you're not losing one of those 4 spots that no one else can ever use. It's just that it has to be able to accept a handicap van to be able to charge. So
got it. So it's still first come, first serve.
It's still first come, first serve. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Martha.
And making the handicap spot bigger, that doesn't make us lose one of the spots.
Well, no, but I may bleed into one of your non-handicap spots in order to meet the new width requirement.
Okay, but it doesn't mean we have to give up a charger spot.
Correct. Yeah.
Do you do new installs, or is this funding program only for rip and replace?
So the majority of what we're doing are new installations. And so the rip and replace sort of became a subset of, oh, by the way, can you upgrade our old chargers while you're here? So actually I sort of created a project here that we kind of coined it as rip and replace. But no, the majority of our work are new installations. So, if you think about it, a lot of cities and towns have 1 or 2, maybe 3 locations that they had those first generation charge points put in. But now they're looking at, like, for example, we just did 13 location site walk for the town of Billerica. So yeah, most of what we're doing are taking advantage of this program because it allows up to $50,000 per address. It really allows you as town planners to kind of sit back and say, ooh, where are other locations that we wish that we had chargers, right? That we can do the same solution that we're providing on the rip and replace, and that is give you chargers at no out-of-pocket cost to the town at every address that you would like to put them in, for as long as the funding is available.
Yeah. And has anybody talked to you about the new police fire department building?
No, that has not come up yet. I will tell you that we're happy to participate in that. The Mass Building Code requires EV ready for any new permits that are pulled for new construction. So I'm sure whoever's doing the engineering and electrical is accommodating the fact that there has to be EV charging.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
not just even EV ready. I think there's the public parking has to have one EV charging spot for every X parking spots, so they have it planned in. I
Right.
don't know if we're getting funding from National Grid for those already, but those are going to be a new set. I think at least 2 level 2 chargers at the new
So
police.
unfortunately, National Grid they do not have any budget money left. So we're, as I mentioned to you, kind of the only game in town. There's some little buckets of money. So National Grid and Eversource have funding for multi-unit dwellings, which would be apartments and condos. National Grid has money for DC Fast, which is level 3 fleet. And that's it. All other categories are fully subscribed. So any workplace charging, any strip malls, cities, towns, there's no funding available. They have
We might be part of the subscribers. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. We might already have the funding lined up. That's what I don't know.
Okay.
But that's, I think if we don't, that would be something for us to consider as well, because I know they're required to have the EV.
They are required to have EV ready for sure. And so anyway, we're happy to consult with you on that.
All right, Julia, could you make a note to ask as part of the National Grid MOU, and also with the work that we've been doing liaisons to the police fire station? Just I put this in your hands because you're the maestro of everything. You could just make sure that we've got funding one way or the other.
Yeah. I can bring that up at our next community solutions meeting. I know that Tom Daly he reached out to the, I think, fire chief, so he's looking to get in on the working group.
How is he not on that list? Is he on the list already, or is it a new working group?
It's the existing working group.
Okay. All right. Could you make sure he's on the list? I thought we had made sure he was getting emails already.
Yeah. He emailed, so I'll email him and check what the status is.
All right. Yeah. I thought we had already solved that problem, but let's solve that problem so they can take advantage of him and his wealth of knowledge related to buildings, as well as the information that he learns from this group. Okay, so Julia, is Michelle looking for our committee to take a vote on whether to approve going forward with this program or not?
She is, yes.
Okay. And then Doran, can you just give me a thumbs up if you're able to do a vote? I don't know.
I am able to do a vote. Yeah, sure.
Okay,
And if you don't mind, if I could just quickly ask, just with respect to these new units and the kind of the balancing between the two ports, I have two questions. One is, has the overall time to full charge on the vehicle changed or gone down as a result of the new technology? And then the second question is really about the volume of these types of units that has already been deployed in the field and what the uptime is like, and kind of like the track record of this particular kind of new technology. I just wanted to hear a little bit about that before we take the vote, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, not at all. So the manufacturer of the equipment is a company called Autel, which is AUTEL. They're a publicly traded company, multi-billion-dollar corporation, and what they're known for is Autel stands for auto intelligence. So when you bring your car in and they put it on the computer to diagnose what the code is that for the repair, Autel makes all of the computer equipment that analyzes. So everybody in the auto industry knows Autel, right? So if you go into like auto dealerships and service bays and repair shops, everybody knows Autel. They're the only charger manufacturer that actually comes from the automotive industry. So they work with all of the auto OEMs. So from an uptime standpoint, from being able to figure out up from a front end side how to interact with all of the vehicles, right? This is second nature for them. So that's one of the reasons why we're attracted to them. I would say that they by far have the largest deployment in Massachusetts for the DC fast chargers, and they've got a tremendous amount of level 2 chargers. So when I say the technology, what I don't want you to think is that this is a new technology that we're introducing. I'm talking about it from a technology standpoint as compared to what you have now. The technology that we're deploying that utilizes dynamic load balancing and some of the other features that I mentioned to you is not unique to Autel, but it is a much higher capacity, if you will, or performance than the generation of technology that you currently have. So there's nothing untested here. There are some additional bells and whistles that come with Autel that folks are gravitating to, and the reason why it's widely accepted is it has an 8-inch touchscreen, interactive touchscreen, and it gives you more of a kiosk experience. It's more of a user kind of comfort interface experience because we're kind of all going that way when it comes to interacting with technology. So there's sort of there's a comfort level there with Autel that has made it sort of stand out in the industry as compared to a lot of the other chargers that just don't really. They kind of have a little LCD screen and a little dial readout to show you how many kilowatt hours are being deployed, et cetera. So I would encourage you, and I'm happy to share more as far as linking to looking at their technology. It certainly, as a minimum, has to appear on the SASD, which is the State Appliance approval list. I'm trying to think of any other way that I can give you any other feedback on the manufacturer. Let's face it, most of this equipment comes from China. There's one or two US made. For me, and as personally and professionally, we chose not to use the Autel Cloud. They do offer their own cloud software, but it's managed and run out of China. So we partnered with a company called Red-E, which is based in Detroit, Michigan. Red-E is ex-Ford Motor executives that started into the EV industry about 8 years ago, and they decided that where the money is going to be in the cloud software. So they developed and deployed the Red-E network, and they happen to own and operate charging stations all around the country, including in Massachusetts. You can see chargers with their Red-E logo on it. And they selected Autel out of all of the equipment that was available to them in the marketplace. After doing their due diligence, they said, if we're going to own and operate stations, we're using Autel software, hardware. So we kind of look at it as the best of both worlds. We have US-based, excellent cloud networking with Red-E, and we've got the hardware that comes from Autel, and we get all of that from Red-E. Red-E is our supplier. So they own and operate it. They deploy it for us. They integrate their SIM card, for example. All of the communication is done. So when we get the Autel equipment, it comes already with everything embedded from Red-E. They do all of the burn-in testing in Detroit. So again, we like having that US-based. I've dealt with Autel out of China. It's great if you can wait 36 hours for an answer if you need help. But that would be dealing with any company based in China. Let's see, what was the other part of your question? You asked about the deployment.
Just the speed of charge.
Oh,
just
speed
based
of charge.
on
Okay.
the dual technology.
Yes, yes. So the dynamic load balancing is going to provide a better charge experience overall. But in the end, it really comes down to the charge curve of the vehicle is, plays the prominent part in how fast the vehicle can charge. All the vehicles they have different battery pack sizes. They don't realize this, but with level 2 charging, what we're putting and installing for you really isn't a charger at all. It's taking AC power from the panel. It's regulating how much power it can provide to the vehicle's charger. And the charger in the vehicle is what converts the AC to DC to the batteries. So how quickly can I get power to those batteries really isn't going to be a huge difference maker. It's how quickly and how much power can that charger in the car convert the AC to DC. What we're doing with this dynamic load balancing is it's talking to the battery pack and the charger in the car to determine how much does car A need versus how much does car B need. Well, car A may have a smaller battery pack and it may be higher state of charge than car B. So the real dynamic load balancing happening real time is saying car A might only need 30% of what I can deliver and car B can take the rest of it. So it is going to be, that's why we call it a smart charger, because it's not just giving 32 amps to each side without any intelligence to be able to balance how that power is being used.
So you really only see the benefit of the dynamic load balancing when there's more than one car charging.
Correct. Yes. Yes, that's right.
And could I just ask about servicing, as far as both the hardware and the software?
Mm-hmm.
Would that be through your firm for the hardware? Do we have a service contract? I mean, how do we handle that?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good question, and I'm not sure how you're handling it now.
Not well.
So this is a sort of a new cottage industry that's evolving into, not only the design and installation of these stations, but the maintenance of them, right? And different folks have different approaches. For DC fast and level 3, we would always insist on a service contract because there's preventive and ongoing maintenance. There's air filters in some cases. Many of these high power DC fast chargers actually have liquid cooled cables. So now you've got a lot more moving parts, if you will, to preventatively maintain. With the DC fast chargers, there's not a whole lot to go wrong. It's typically software. So it really comes down to the ability of the software provider to provide over-the-air updates and repairs. And again, that's where Red E comes in. So your relationship is with Red E. So when it comes to doing an upgrade, system upgrade, repairs, over-the-air repairs, and things of that nature, Red E has got a 24/7 manned US-based service center. And so the majority of what we see is done by Red E. If you need a cable replacement, there's really not a whole lot more. Okay, so if a plow runs into one of the chargers or they get vandalized or you need a new cable, we generally are not offering ongoing service contracts. We can, but we have found that most of the companies that do that, it doesn't make financial sense. Your city electrician, the cables are field changeable. It's like doing any kind of maintenance on any piece of electrical equipment. So I don't want to diminish, but what has your experience been with level 2 charging maintenance? Has it been spotty? Has it been software? Has it been what if?
Well, I don't know what the nature of what's happening at the town hall is. That's been out of service for forever. Julia, do you know anything about why that's been out of service? But nobody's moved to fix it as far as I know. So
I don't know exactly why, but I have heard from town leadership that at several chargers, the user interface is degrading. So I don't know if it's like the screen that people are using.
So we are providing a 5-year warranty on all the Autel equipment. So if there were to be, again, we haven't seen this happen, but again, we're all you know, I have only been doing this for 3 years, so I haven't lived through a full life cycle yet. But that's, I don't know what ChargePoint was offering. And again, I think that with any technology, and I would even say that if you went to the new version of what ChargePoint installs, it's night and day compared to, you know, the chargers that we're taking out. And again, I mean, it's great to be an early adopter, but putting in that Gen 1 stuff, there were even the plastic screens that were used 5 years ago didn't have the UV protection that today's plastic does. So we see a lot of the old ChargePoint units where, you know, the screens have all faded just because of sunlight. Well, they've fixed that problem, right? So what they're installing now. So I think that overall, you know, what we're talking about here is you know, it hits technology upgrade almost at every bullet, right? So you're getting, you know, longer warranty, you're getting new equipment that's more robust, it's today's technology. Again, you know, there's so many reasons why this makes sense. And not only that, you've probably got the useful life out of the first generation product. So, you know, it makes sense that you know, for every reason to replace it with what we're proposing. I
Shall
would
we
like to
take a
get back
vote?
with you. I do want to get back with you, Julia, or I'll have Jim interact with you. I just want to make sure I've got all of the right addresses and that we end up with the same count. And if there's a reason why, I can't think offhand just because I have so many projects going on, but we do run in from time to time. The Mass EVIP money, the funds that we're talking about, can only be used one time for each address. So if, for example, 3 years ago, one of your locations utilized Mass EVIP funding, Julia, didn't we check with Mass EVIP? So they told the ones that we submitted to them, they said you have not used those funds. But I'm wondering, I might be missing an address. I'm just wondering if why my count doesn't match up to.
Yeah,
So we
I
can do
sent
that. We
you.
can
I'm
come
sorry.
back offline and make sure we're synced up on
Sure.
that. So, but I think all in all, it isn't going to change the proposal here, and that is that we can replace these at every address that you currently have, so long as the EVIP money is available and was not previously used at no out-of-pocket cost to the town. So I guess it's easy to say if we miss an address and there's 2 dual ports somewhere out there that I don't have, we can easily add that and it isn't going to cost the town anything.
So shall we have a vote, Tanya? Are we ready? Of support? I think you're muted.
Sorry. Chris O'Leafson is in the waiting room, so that's his number, the 781 number. If we can pull him in, he's been listening in.
Yep. Okay. He should be allowed to speak.
And he did have a question.
Okay.
Hi, Chris. Chris, did you have a question that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I may have covered this before you joined the call, so I'll just catch up with some. Just outline the categories of cash if we're to tweak the calls for the revenue stuff for the subsidy.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
it's really hard to hear you. Is there a way you can get closer to the microphone? Yeah.
Hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Much better.
Hold on. Okay, how's that?
That's
Good.
even
Good.
better.
Oh, much better? All right, sorry.
Yes.
I'm in the middle of Illinois, or where am I now? Indiana, I think. Quick question. You may have covered this before I joined, so if so, I'll just defer and catch up with somebody. Can you just talk a little bit about the categories of expense, categories of revenue, categories of subsidy and how your firm earns a return on any, and then who is your firm
Sure.
making the investment in these structures? Just how does that how the economics work?
Sure. Yeah. We do not own and operate the chargers. We're providing a turnkey installation construction project. So at the end of that project, once the chargers are up and running, we hand the keys back to the town. So all of the revenue that is generated from the driver fees flows from the cloud service provider electronically to your account. We are not involved in any way at taking any of the profit share. So how do we earn money? We purchase the equipment, we purchase the labor, like any construction project. We're offsetting the cost to you with the Mass EVIP funding, and our profit margin is included in that total dollar amount, that total project cost.
Great. And so there's no capital cost to the town. It's all funded by the grants by
100%. 100%
Wow,
through
great.
the Mass
Thank you.
EVIP program. Yeah,
Great. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Great question, Chris. Okay, so these have been great questions. This was a great presentation. My understanding is that Michelle Leary is looking for this Alternative Energy Committee to learn about this opportunity and ask questions. And based on what we've learned, take a vote. Do we feel like we're ready to take a vote? I see nodding. So if that's the case, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we recommend going forward with a rip and replace program by, I don't even know the name of your firm, Robert, but
East Coast Renewable Energy,
East Coast Renewable Energy.
Milford, Massachusetts.
The very same.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. Thank you, Martha. So I have a first and a second that we recommend to move forward with the Rip and Replace program with East Coast Renewables. Did I get that right?
Thank you. You did. Yes.
Is there any discussion? We've had a lot already. If there's no further discussion, then we can do a roll call vote. Please announce your name and how you vote on this motion, and second to proceed to recommend that the town proceed.
Martha Gangemi, I vote aye.
Debbie Cook, aye.
Chris Adlington, aye.
Doran Hull, aye.
And Tanya Bodell, aye. So this recommendation is unanimous, and we will make note of it in the meeting minutes. And Julia, if you could please communicate and copy me on the email to Michelle Leary that the Alternative Energy Committee unanimously, with our 5 votes, voted to recommend that the town proceed with this program.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, excellent.
Thank you
Thank
all
you
for
so
your
much.
thank you all so much for your trust in us, and we look forward to a long relationship here. I'm sure we can help you out in some of the other items that you talked about with regard to fleet and other things. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
Good evening. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, that took up a lot of time, but I think it was worth it. And I feel like that was a very thorough conversation, and it will be documented thoroughly by Martha with her amazing meeting minutes, as well as the recording. So I think that that was very much worth our time. The next is a data report by Chris, but he is on the road, so I can share my screen and show what's happening with the, speaking of which, with the charging stations And I don't think I have the solar energy array report, but there is a link online that I can share, which gives you a real-time image of what's been happening with our solar energy. So let
Hey,
me,
Tanya,
yes,
do you hear me?
yes.
So in that email where I send you the image of the dashboard, I also sent you a image of the solar field. If you're in that email.
Okay, I am in that email, and that is what I pulled up. So let me get that again. Hold on. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, there's an attached PDF attached to the.
Oh, yes, I see it. Okay. All right, now's the trick. Let's see if I can share my screen. Window. Um, sorry, I have a lot of things open right now. I'm trying to find the one.
Hey, Chris.
Oh, got it. I got it. Okay, beautiful. Can everybody see this?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, so we have had some acceleration in our unique drivers. It's up above 100, quite higher than February, March, April. I wonder if this is a seasonal thing. Keep in mind, July is only a partial month, so we need to be looking at June. But that's good news. We have an increasing amount of unique drivers, and that's total across all of the ports and charging stations. The sessions are up to around 300 sessions per month. That's interesting. On average, I guess each of those unique drivers are doing 3 sessions. The average length is 3 hours, 50 minutes. I suspect that's because of the 5-hour limit. And we still have very light usage of our stations. You can see that up at the top in the middle, the number of ports that are being used at any point in time. And so what is not in this, just keep in mind, these are the 16 ports at the 4 locations that have double EVs with double EV charging stations with double ports. What this does not include is the town hall. And the energy that we're using is around 4 megawatt hours per month. And just as a point of context, that's almost, it's slightly more than 4 houses. So a house in Cohasset uses around 900 kilowatt hours or 0.9 megawatt hours per month. So this is a little bit more than the energy usage of 4 households per month that the energy that the EV chargers are dishing out. So that is very good. What I don't have, because I think it was loading up, are the financials. But as we know, we've been making money off of the idle time. And I think we've been covering costs, maybe even with a little bit of margin on the energy. So this is looking good. I also, does anybody know if I've been seeing a lot more of the electric carts around town?
A lot.
Yes, that was, remember we looked into this and whether we wanted to promote it, and we felt like this was something that would happen organically. But
Mhm.
those are just charged at homes, right? They don't use the same, they're not part of this.
There's so many.
Yes, that's separate and apart. So those carts, especially in the summer, those are separate and apart from the EV charging. It's a different connection. So any questions on this? And while we have Chris, maybe Chris looked at this as well and could answer. Look, I think this is, the trend is in the right direction. Yes, Chris?
Usually, somebody I
Sorry, we couldn't hear you.
Never mind.
Okay. All right. Very good. Let me stop sharing that and now start trying to share again. This is great. This is a solar landfill project. We, as we all know, have exceeded the $500,000 mark. And we had a big celebration about this in June. It was fantastic. It was just such a pleasure. I don't know if anybody saw the picture of the $500,000 check that our solar energy landfill, old landfill with a solar energy array wrote to the town of Cohasset. But it was just a very cute ceremony, and I thought it was fantastic. And we had quite the showing. Doran was there, Steve was there, Tom Daly was there. I know, Debbie, you weren't able to be there. You were missed, but I did recognize the amazing team here. Chris was there. Chris O'Leafson was there. So it was a fantastic event. Julia, who was responsible for everything tied to that event, just did a fantastic job. And Julia, I want to commend you again, everybody. Round of applause for Julia for the fantastic event of celebrating the success that we've had with the old landfill and the solar energy array there.
Thanks. It was a great morning.
It was so great. So we have lots of great pictures. I have a draft article ready to go. I was waiting to try to figure out how many trees or cars off the road the solar energy array has saved and how much on the carbon. And lo and behold, it turns out if you go to the Cohasset webpage and you go to the Alternative Energy Committee and you click on the link, which is on the right near the top, and it refers to our solar energy array, you can get to a live, another click that will give you a live feed of what's happening with our solar energy array. And I'm going to see if I can just pull that up as well. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to do a new share of this. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. This one's a little bit harder. I'm afraid to click because I might get to the wrong thing. It's on the monitoring public solar. So I may not be as lucky on this one, but let me check one more thing. So much success. And at the end, I can't pull up the town. I mean, I'll just pull this up and see what happens. So I'm going to share. Okay, does everybody see this? This you can get to from the Alternative Energy Committee. It's a Cohasset old landfill solar energy array. If you go down to click to view this project's power and energy production in real time. Did the data come up?
Mm-mm.
Ah, crap. Okay, yeah, I think that I would have to find this. So you all can do that, but basically there's 5 million pounds of carbon CO2 emissions have been saved from the solar energy array, and that's the equivalent of 39,000 trees being planted.
Wow.
I know, it's so cool. It's so cool. So very excited, and I just want everybody on this committee to pat themselves on the back because this is just one example that I'm so happy we were able to celebrate, but one example of the great work that we're doing. And there's more for us to do because that only is 10% of the town's usage, and we can do more. So Osgood is having its roof replaced next year. And that's great news because that means that we can squeeze in and still get some of the federal incentives, which are set to expire under the big beautiful bill that we'll call it the triple B. By you have to be under construction by 2026, and it has to be operational by 2027. And then after that, the solar subsidies from the federal government currently will expire. So we are trying to get the Osgood roof in, and we are looking to, I did ask Gordon Dean when we should put out an RFP for this, and he said the fall would be the best time. And when I spoke to the select board, I told them this timing and also said that we would want to go to the town meeting in December to get the approval to lease all of the school roofs or school property for solar energy arrays as we can do it. And so that is on their radar. And we're looking to be able to move forward on that. Julia, did you want to say something about the event or the solar energy array?
Just that it was a great morning. The event was actually featured in the Cohasset Anchor. So if any of you have not read it, the article yet, it is published. And I emailed you the link, but if you need me to re-email it to you all, I will happily do that. So the link to see the real-time solar energy array data is up on the website, so it should be working. If it's not working, I can check on it next week and just see how to fix that, but it should be all set. But please take a look at the AEC website too, and all the information is there.
I'm wondering if those statistics, we could ask, Kevin to put them in the town manager's email. I just think it's important for people to realize what a solar array like that, what solar energy can actually sequester, or with carbon and stuff. So do you think we could ask Kevin to put those statistics in the town manager's email?
I can see if he would be willing to do that. I know that he did reference the event in his, I think, one of his latest weekly updates to the town. But you're looking for specific
Well, I'm just
statistics?
thinking he might make something like, did you know? And then so people can realize that fairly small array, look at the incredible 39,000 tree equivalent. It just gives people a sense, even for their own solar, what difference it can make.
I think what we should consider is whether we do a monthly blurb highlighting something that our committee wants to have Kevin send around. And if he thinks it's worth putting in, he can put it in, and this would be one of those things. I think the way we get things done is as we have been, with us being proactive about providing the information in a usable, digestible way that can easily be popped into, say, the town weekly report.
Well, I mean, it is part of our mission to educate, and I think it's really important for people to get a sense of, of some of these facts. And so that, a do you know, or just a quick little blurb from us.
Yep. Well, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. Do you want to take the lead, Debbie, on the do you know?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll take the lead on that. I'll call Kevin. I know him.
Oh, good.
Okay.
And I think feel free to use the information that's already on the webpage for the town.
Yeah.
And even maybe give a link, because part of the did you know is not just did you know this is how much has been produced, this is how much.
Yeah, of course the link will be there. Yeah.
But here's the link if you want to see on a updated basis what's happening with our solar energy array.
Yeah, and I think we should just ask for something like once a month.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not every week, but if we could do it once a month.
And it might not be just a solar energy array, right? That's going to produce a lot in the summer and then it's going to slow down in the winter, but we might have other things that we want to put in under the do you know? And maybe we call it something cute, which is making green or, something. I don't know. I think maybe we could brainstorm, Debbie, or you could brainstorm, but something that's just a regular, maybe he even highlights it as green.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Cohasset going green, and we just give a blurb on what's happening.
Yeah.
Something clever. Okay.
Well,
Great.
we could just talk about, maybe get an idea after each meeting. We could put it in the week the week after. So I'll do this one, and I'll be in charge of it, and ask for once a month.
Great.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. It's 9:00. So we already did do a recap of the Solar Energy Array celebration on June 23rd. Let's get an update from committee members on what the items that they are championing. First is a recap on the National Grid Energy Summit. Debbie, did you want to give us an update on that?
Well, it was just there was a lot of good information. They did send, you can get all the sessions. They sent those along. I don't think we've gotten our 10% certificate yet, though. They said that we were going to have that, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. But Julie, you haven't gotten it, right?
I haven't.
Yeah. I don't know who it's going to come to. So you know what, let me check see about that. Amanda, you all know Amanda's on leave, right? Amanda Formica is officially on leave. So we have, she gave us names of new people to be in touch with National Grid, and they'll be generating the monthly reports and having the meetings with us. So I think it's Naomi or something. Anyway, so yeah. So that's my update of that.
Great.
Well, anyway, okay.
So Earth Day, that was a while ago. I don't know why that's still there. Was there any? No, that was the end of April, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about that in May. I was thinking maybe we didn't because we had missed June. The police, fire, and school roof update. Tom Daly doesn't have an update on that, but we are going to make sure that he's on the distribution list because we have had trouble with that, and I thought we had gotten that resolved. So, Julia, that's an action item for you. If you could just make sure that Tom is getting emails and invitations to the meetings. And I think for that particular group, it would be useful to let them know about this program that we've just voted to recommend that the town pursue, because there are requirements for not just having them EV ready, but having EV stations in the public lot of the police fire station. And I don't know if it's for every 8, but I think there's going to be like 2 to 4 EV charging station spots there, and they're looking at making them level 2. We did ask about level 3, and level 3, as much as it's very convenient, it really is an expensive proposition. But that said, what we found out tonight, and it's something that we want to make sure Tom communicates to the buildings team and do that. Perhaps that's going to come through the National Grid program, is they seem to have some information on, or they seem to have some funding for level 3 chargers under certain conditions. So again, this should be on their radar because they have to do it, and we identified resources, but this might be a way to help fund it as well. Steve is not here to do the activist update. He's been going to some interesting things. I thought it'd be useful to have him give us an update on what those look like. I have amazing news on the presentation to the select board, which occurred on July 1st. So a little bit over a week ago. I went in a very different format. I did not have a large power or small PowerPoint slide presentation. I had a 2-page memo, and I wanted to be very focused and to the point. And I basically asked them to give us approval to do a climate action plan for the municipal load, a report that would identify a roadmap for the town to decarbonize, what that would look like, if we can get information on how much that would cost, what would be the low hanging fruit, what would be the heavier lifts, but identify where the carbon's coming from and the town consumption, positioned it as a potential component of the Climate Leaders Program, positioned it as a good governance, and we received unanimous support by the select board to move forward and develop a roadmap for decarbonization of the town's load and of the town's energy use. And they gave us approval to pursue funding from grants to provide us with technical support to do it. So
Fantastic.
it was a long road to get here, and now the hard work begins.
Right.
We
But
have to get approval. Yes.
I was realizing, I talked to Julia today, I started to make a Google spreadsheet just kind of as kind of a work document, you know, to put everything together and different studies that are going on and different work aspects and stuff, especially for the decarb roadmap. And I realized, you know, first of all, some of the things like our usage, we have that from, you have to have it starting in 2022. And so we've got a lot of the basics. We also have with National Grid, I don't think, Julia, do you think you could screen share what it's really interesting to the report that we get from National Grid. And the reason I want people to see it is because they update all the usage of all the buildings and what's happening and all of the projects that are underway. I mean, it's like a gift from heaven. This National Grid partnership is like, as far as I'm concerned, this gift from heaven. But what do you think, Julie? I mean, a lot of the things we have to do for the decarb roadmap are being done by National Grid.
Yeah, they are compiling a lot of useful data for municipal buildings.
Do you mind going through there? Can we have 1 minute if she could pull it up?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, just give me one moment. I'm going to go through my emails.
Okay. And you're next, Julia. So not to put too much pressure on you. But no, I agree with you, Debbie, that National Grid has made our life easier on the decarbonization roadmap because of the information that they're already compiling and providing. And we also have already done a carbon accounting exercise. This committee has. And so we can update that as well. And we've been working on this for a long time. So I think we know where a lot of the carbon is coming from.
Well, this is actually, it's all about, a lot of it's also the usage, you know, from coming from these. So they break it, you have to, in the roadmap, you have to talk about the, you know, the consumption at the water treatment plant, the sewage treatment plant, everything like that. And that is on the National Grid worksheets. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? It's almost like we could hand them in. So did you find them? I think I know.
Yeah, let me just share my screen. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is just an overview of what like the format of the note taking looks like. So it's by each month since we've started with the partnership. And Amanda and occasionally Lisa Sullivan attends, goes through, and we talk about the municipal buildings and any potential projects that might be upcoming. EV charging infrastructure, any residential concerns, other programs that we may be interested in learning more about.
So do you mind quickly going through the different tabs at the bottom? Because yeah, so this is, like the progress towards our goal that they've given us before we get financial benefits from this. So if you can see we're, like we're 91% of their kilowatt hour goal in year one, before we get financial benefits. I mean, you have to spend time looking at this, but then residential, so we've got a lot of data from there, and you can see, this is just home energy assessment, but if you take it further out, they have heat pumps and all that kind of stuff. And then the success, and then wait a minute, notes, and then there was a report, but there was one. Is this it? This is what I'm looking for right here. Wait a minute. There's one that shows all our usage. And why am I not seeing that in the town? Maybe if you could take it out further, but it lists every building in Cohasset and its use and its usage.
Oh, are you talking about the I'm sorry. The MEI data that I sent out for over the last 5 years?
I thought it was in here. Anyway, there's a lot in here about, what each or maybe it's the MEI, I don't know, but it was current of all the, what's happening at the water treatment plant and the sewage treatment plant and stuff. But we've got a lot of data that's being compiled for us, that we can pull from.
That's
So,
great.
yeah.
Because we'll need to, because we
Yeah.
got the approval to go ahead, and it was our recommendation to move ahead, and a commitment by this committee to move ahead if we got approval. So we now have it, and we can move forward and not, tick that box off of our list.
That's great news, Tanya.
It is
So
fabulous.
do we maybe at our next meeting with more people, we should talk about how we're going to do this and have some subcommittees or?
Yep,
I don't
I think that's how we should do it. So let's put that on the agenda for next meeting. I'll have Julia do a poll to make sure that we can get attendance in the August meeting. That tends to be slow, but we did take June off, so I'm hopeful we can do August. We have a lot of work to do. And we also have to be prepared to put out a request for proposal in the fall and get permission from the town to lease the school buildings for solar. Okay, Julia, can you give us a quick report?
Yes. All right. So starting with the revised MEI data, you all requested to go back 5 years. So that was shared with the AEC via email on June 26th. It breaks down the energy usage data for both gas and electric, broken out by department and buildings, dating back to 2020. So that's an Excel sheet that is in your email.
Great.
Planning department shared letter of support with town leadership regarding climate leaders. This was provided in advance of the select board meeting on July 1st for their background, and just so they're aware that the planning department is supportive of pursuing climate leaders. And that was also emailed to you all on June 26th if you wanted to look back at that. DOER large building energy reporting. So we successfully reported on our large buildings. We received an email from DOER saying that there are no further steps required for our buildings to comply at this time. So that was on June 27th, and the deadline was June 30th. So all of our municipal buildings over 20,000 square feet were successfully claimed. And the energy data is automatically being pushed over to a certain portal that we secured the connection for so that they can be automatically pushed by the state and we don't have to do that. They said that further information on how to access your building's utility data will be provided this fall, and they may be in touch with additional steps for verifying data. So that is completed. Does anyone have any questions regarding that?
Julia, you're doing such a good job.
Oh,
I just have
thank
to
you.
say. I think we tell you that all the time, but
Thank you. Well, you guys make it easy. It's great to work with you all, and I enjoy doing and working with the National Grid representatives and green communities. So it's been great. I'll go to the next bullet. Green communities. I spoke with Nick Berardi, I think a week or two ago. There were no updates for that regarding the HVAC building construction plans or the architect's plans for the HVAC. Although I had a brief meeting with Amanda for Formica, it was last week, and they mentioned that you cannot use a National Grid incentive for heat pumps, which is what our fall Green Communities grant will be for the HVAC. So I just wanted to make that clear because we were actually assuming that we could, and Nick also thought the same. So I don't know how that got lost in translation, but they mentioned one of the other elements to the town hall project is they're replacing the lighting just with LED lights, and that actually does qualify for the 10% incentive. So we're going to try and work with the new Mike Skinner. He was one of the representatives we talked with monthly. The new person, his name is Sean. So I've been in active conversations with him. He's going to send us some information on how if and how we can use the 10% incentive for the lighting replacements. That will be done in-house by facilities. Does anyone have any questions regarding green communities?
So I'm sorry, but so we're applying for a grant in the fall from Green Communities, and we were going to try to apply that to the heat pumps, but we can't. So now we're applying it to replacing the lights.
So we're still applying for the Green Communities round, but we thought we could use the separate National Grid 10% incentive coupon on top of that, which we unfortunately cannot use for HVAC.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then I think the program opportunity notice for Green Communities fall block will be coming out soon. I think within the next month or so.
Great.
Harbor Committee initiatives update. So with support of the town planner Cassandra Thayer, consultants Weston and Sampson, and Woods Whole Group, and the Harbor Committee, we successfully submitted a fiscal year 26 CZM, which is Coastal Zone Management, a coastal resiliency grant, which is to progress concepts developed under a previous study, taking into account compound flooding, which is accounting for both stormwater and groundwater combined with sea level rise and storm surge. in the Cohasset Harbor and James Meadow areas. So that was an application that we submitted on June 17th. And we're expected to hear back from the CZM program maybe later this summer or early fall timeframe. So that was a huge success for the Harbor Committee.
How much were they asking for? Just curious.
Let me just pull up the scope.
Oh, I don't.
I
Don't go to
think-
any trouble.
Yeah, just I might be able to get back to you on that.
I'm just curious. That's okay.
Does anyone have any questions regarding those topics? All right. Well, that's all I have for updates.
Great summary. Perfect. Okay, so is there anything not known in advance within the last 48 hours? All right. Is there anything else anybody would like to raise? All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Martha. A second.
Second.
Thank you, Debbie. All right. We don't have to do roll call vote. We can just wave our hands. All in favor of adjourning, raise your hands. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right.
Night.
Good night. Thank you, Julia.
Oh.
Thank you. Bye.